Every now and then a story pops up on the internet that just sticks with you. It's haunting, you can't quite shake it. We're going to dive into one of those today. It's a story that on the surface is about a single animal, but it ends up asking some really profound questions about all of us. We're talking about the lone penguin that made a choice that nobody could figure out.
And this is the core of it, right? Why would an animal whose entire life, every single instinct, is tied to the ocean for food and survival just turn its back on it all? And not just turn its back, but walk toward a barren, frozen wasteland where there's nothing for it but an inevitable end. It just goes against everything we think we know about survival.
And when I say this story captivated people, I am not kidding. This little clip, it's from a 2007 documentary by the legendary Werner Herzog called Encounters at the End of the World. It just exploded online. We're talking over 8 million views. And the comment section, wow, it's like this massive ongoing philosophical debate.
Okay, so to really get why this hit such a nerve, we need to break down exactly what happened. Let's look at the facts of this bizarre little journey, just what the cameras managed to capture on that Antarctic shore.
So just picture it. You've got this huge, bustling colony of thousands of penguins. They're all doing what penguins do, heading toward the sea. But then there's one, just one. It breaks away from the crowd, completely ignores the life-giving ocean, and starts walking in the total opposite direction, straight for a mountain range 70 kilometers away. And this is where it gets even weirder. The researchers and the film crew, they saw this happening, and they actually tried to stop it. They didn't just watch. They physically turned the penguin around, pointed it back towards its friends, back towards the sea. But it didn't work. The penguin would just reorient itself and keep walking inland. This wasn't some mistake. This was a decision. It was determined. Obviously, this kind of behavior, it's so strange, so self-destructive. It just begs for a scientific answer. So what did the scientists have to say? What could possibly be going on here?
Well, the official clinical term that scientists use is disoriented. And, okay, that's a word. It suggests something's wrong, right? Maybe its internal compass is broken or it's confused. But let's be honest, that's a label. It's not really an explanation. It doesn't tell us why. Now, they do have a few working theories. Could it be some kind of neurological problem? Maybe something's physically wrong with its brain. Or what about a parasite? There are parasites that can hijack an animal's brain and its instincts. Or maybe it's something in the environment, some pressure that we just don't understand yet. All of these are on the table. But here's the thing, and this is the most important part from the scientific angle. These are just theories, guesses. To this day, science does not have a single, definitive, proven reason for why this penguin did what it did. The mystery, from a purely scientific standpoint, is still very much unsolved.
And you know what happens when science leaves a void, right? Human emotion and interpretation rush right in to fill it. Because the internet, it didn't see a disoriented animal. No way. It saw something deeply and for many painfully familiar. This right here was the comment you'd see over and over and over again. Thousands of people watched this tiny figure walk away from everything it was supposed to be, and they didn't see a bird. They saw themselves. And what's so fascinating is how these interpretations split into two totally different camps. On one side, you had this kind of nihilistic view. People who saw the penguin as a symbol of just giving up, of being so lost and overwhelmed that you just walk toward nothingness. But on the other side, you had this amazing interpretation of personal freedom, that this penguin was a hero, choosing its own path, defying the crowd to chase some goal that only it understood. And that right there is the real reason this story has so much staying power. It was never really about the penguin, was it? It's about what we see when we look at it. It's like a mirror. That solitary walk, it's just a blank screen. And we all project our own fears, our own hopes, our own stories onto it. It somehow became this perfect, powerful metaphor for the whole messy business of being human. Think about it. In that one little bird, people saw their own feelings of just being aimless. That feeling of deep isolation, even when you're surrounded by people. That ache of feeling totally misunderstood. And that constant universal search for some kind of meaning in it all. So, in the end, it doesn't even matter if you think the journey is tragic or heroic. Whether you see despair or courage, what you see says a whole lot more about you and about your own life than it ever could about that penguin. We see our own story in its mysterious little path. Which brings us to a final thought here. We started this whole thing by asking why the penguin did it. But what if the real power isn't in finding an answer, but in the question itself?
Seriously, think about it for a second. If a scientist announced tomorrow, hey, we figured it out, it was a specific brain parasite, the story would kind of die, wouldn't it? It would lose all its magic. The power isn't in the explanation. It's in the not knowing.
The true value of this whole thing is that it makes us look inward. It's a prompt. That little penguin acts as a mirror, and it forces us to confront our own anxieties, our own secret hopes, and those lonely paths we all feel like we have to walk sometimes. You know, that penguin had a destination, a literal mountain range that made no sense to anyone else watching. And that really just leaves one final question, not for the penguin, but for us to ask ourselves, what mountains are you walking towards?